This is one of the new videos from 2022 that will be linked with the September 16th class on tables. I'm going to have a couple of these that are really focused on Excel, and I'm going to sort of just walk you through the very basics of sort of why we might open data and look at it in Excel, and just some sort of tips for cleaning and visually working on it, and then show you some more advanced techniques, that we might use, called VLOOKUPs and pivot tables. And, I'll make hints in these videos that Excel is such a deep tool and there's so much more we can kind of go with it. But I at the very least want you to be cognizant of these operations in Excel. And the reason that we're doing this is a theme for the 16th, which is going to be all about, tabular data and cleaning and organizing data, is that though we can do these things in ArcGIS, in ArcPro, though we can do them in R, which won't be something we do as much in this class, but I'm going to talk to it, and though we can do them in Excel, we should always be thinking through like which of those three platforms is most efficient to help me achieve what I want to achieve. And that's one of the things you'll see is that while Pro is a great software for mapping, cartography, and spatial analytics, it can be a bit clunkier sometimes when you're cleaning or selecting or summarizing data. And the place that R occupies really is an excellent resource when you're working with exceedingly large data sets, right? Ones that, even if ArcGIS could handle, it'll slow it down, or Excel won't even really open. R is an excellent sort of tool for that. And those who are versed in it and speak its language, it's, a really sort of efficient way just to work with tabular data in general. But Excel is really, I think, a good medium, right? It provides a really efficient, clean way to visualize and analyze your tabular data. And also, for the purposes of this class, it's just a really good way to, organize, right, and clean. And I'm going to recommend that a lot of times when you gather data, pull it down from the web for part of our project or something you do yourself, that you really start your process of organizing and visualizing what's available in that table in Excel. And you really only then bring it into ArcGIS once it's cleaned and ready and you're ready to sort of visualize it. So again, it's not that we can't use Pro for these things. We'll sort of learn techniques. There's videos about it. It's just that there's an efficiency with Excel or with numbers or with Open Excel that I want to make sure you have. So before I sort of launch into the next part, I do want to just give you like a precursor into what kind of data I'm going to show you in these videos. Just like any cool resource I try to show you guys, I'll keep loaded on our workbook that's on Canvas that sort of shows resources. And the one I'm going to be looking at here is from the Opportunity Insights webpage. Some of you may be familiar with this. I showed you a bit of this data on our first class with the economist Raj Chetty, who does a lot of work on economic mobility and has historically and previously done a lot of it linking back to where you go to sort of college and the differentiation between access to education and stuff and the drive for economic mobility. And one of the more recent investments they made is this paper on sort of social capital, right, which is a bit of a fuzzier concept. And I'll make sure you sort of have this paper to you. But they were able to mine like 21 billion friendship relationships along Facebook, and we're able to study things like what is the connectedness between different types of people, like those who have lower or higher incomes. What about social cohesion, right? To what extent do people tend to cluster in small, tight-knit groups with one another or form cliques versus be a little bit more broad? And then more importantly, really comparing that to economic mobility over time. And they were able to start to really draw connections that this idea of economic connectedness, right? This concept of people of different socioeconomic statuses, especially for low-income people, to have access and connectivity to higher income people can create these networks that has a statistically significant relationship with economic mobility. And that's the strongest, right? But these ideas of sort of civic engagement and social cohesion and clustering have certain strengths as well. And cool thing is they really like turn it into a cool map where you can actually look at sort of any county or zip code and you can see these things, right? How economically connected are people there, right? How much is there sort of clustering in friend groups? And you can break it down by zip codes and by high school. And for what we're going to do today, colleges, right? So we can actually look at colleges and see one like Hiram College, Ohio, where about 40.4% of friends, are also friends with each other, right? It's a lot more of sort of a clustered one than if I come over here to University of Northwestern Ohio, where it is a lot more sort of clicky, right? You don't tend to see these sort of cross, relation of friend groups. So we're going to play around with this. The cool thing with a website like this is you can go right here. We'll download the data. I'll show you sort of what it looks like. And the other thing we'll be playing with over here is iPads. And the iPads resource is something that we'll cover, and we may come back and cover this as well a little more in the class on how to find data in the real world. But iPads is just a phenomenal resource on how to pull data from universities, colleges across the country. It sometimes can suffer from being a bit time weighted. It's always behind the curve by a year or two because it takes a while to report, but it's still a really good resource for studying data. So I'm going to pause on this one. This will be more of like an optional intro video for those who want to see the data that we're working with and get a sense of it. And then starting in the next video, we'll actually dive into the what the data looks like in Excel, some basic operations, speaking its language, and then we'll conclude with some of those more advanced operations I was talking about.